I quit my job because those first few weekends, I got 7 deposits.
Oh shit.
Rejection is huge. Family time, 100%. I wish I spent more time with my family. 4 years before I took a holiday.
It's not evil, right? Money is just an amplifier.
Us in our generation, I think we can change that.
Even if you were a billionaire, who would you be at that?
Truth is,
Episode 1 of .01 podcast with a very special guest, a good friend as well, Mark Coronel, the Filipino legend. It's going to be a very, very fun episode. But before we start every episode, we're going to have some tea. So this tea is from Japan. What is it? It's an organic gen matcha. Do you like gen matcha? It's matcha.
I've never tried it, but I like.
You never tried Japanese tea?
I like tea.
So we like tea on the show, and today we're gonna try this tea. So if you're a tea sponsor, please let us know. We're gonna sponsor us, please.
What about like bubble teas?
Oh, bubble teas work too. We can do bubble teas. So this is very non-Asian way of doing tea.
I thought you were gonna pull it out and do the.
No, we don't have. These are tea bags from Japan, but it is what it is. All right, we're gonna let that stew for a bit, and we're gonna chuck this away, and we're gonna get started.
Cool.
Yeah, so Mark's very interesting. I've had the pleasure of actually working with Mark for about a year now. I met Mark a long time ago actually, but our paths never really did cross until we got back together in like a networking event.
Yeah, I think the first time I met you, I was actually dragged to one of those, can I say it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
of course.
those USANA meetings.
Yeah.
As you do, being Asian and having many aunties around you. It was meant to be my wife, but then I saw this young person, super handsome, super buff, and I was like, man, this guy's super inspiring. Who is he? Alan Foom. And then after a while, hadn't seen you for a while, but did follow you on the socials.
Which was surprising. I had no idea. I wasn't even expecting it. So
I mean, you're a celebrity in our eyes. So.
I do my best. Do my best. Definitely not a celebrity, but I just do my best living my life. No, but that's awesome. So today's not about me though. It's more about you. I want to kind of know, because you've had a fascinating come up or a fascinating story in terms of your career, and you've done a lot of things because you're actually a very, very smart guy.
Sometimes.
Yeah, because you have a engineering background, right?
I do, yeah.
So that's pretty cool. UNSW?
Yep.
Yeah, UNSW engineering.
#1 engineering university.
That's right, as they say. You know, I'm a USyd boy, but you know we can always argue back and forth, but doesn't matter. It's engineering. I was a science background guy.
Yep.
So, for those people who don't know you, what's your story like?
Yeah, look,
Give us the rundown. Who's Mark Coronel?
I'm Philo. I look Chinese, probably because I eat a lot of Chinese food. My wife's Chinese. A lot of Chinese people think I'm Chinese, but yeah, Filipino, born and bred. Imported goods. I came here in 1991 when I was 4. Now I'm 37.
Wow.
Yeah.
Whole life.
Oh man, pretty much. But you know, we did spend time going back and forth to the Philippines. Now I'm the sales director at Corp.
Wow.
I'm involved with a few different entities within the company. Yeah, I started here in 2018, just after the boom, and never looked back. Before
2018, you started your career in real estate.
Yeah.
What are we now? 2025. So 7 years ago.
Yep.
So not super long. Maybe like, you know, just a very young teenage career, but that's pretty cool. You're the sales director now, and you know, a lot of people might not know what Corp is. So what is Corp?
The company itself, we're based in Sydney. We're pretty much a one-stop shop for all your property needs, whether it's residential or commercial, second-hand or off the plan or new type stuff. We've also done some developments, our own developments quite recently. We help with migration once upon a time. We also help with finance.
Oh, wow.
We do have an accounting arm as well, which is a different stream of the company and the services that we offer. But apart from that, look, if someone's got a problem or something they need help with, we've helped people sell businesses.
Wow.
We've helped people with all sorts of stuff. The only thing that we really don't get involved with is litigation and soliciting.
Yeah, right.
So we leave that to people. Either we recommend or to clients' own recommendations.
So Cube essentially is a one-stop shop real estate service with the buying, selling, developing, building, accounting, financing, all covered.
Yeah. Some people say, are we a buyer's agents, especially our selling arm? But the reality is we're not. But we have that much of a network that we've got access to hundreds of, I guess, vendors and stock, thousands of stock throughout all of Australia, some offshore also.
Wow, so that's pretty cool. And being the sales director there, what's it like? It must be a very interesting, you know, sort of journey for you, because 7 years ago, you were at essentially the bottom of the real estate, the cockroach in real estate.
Yeah,
right? You
100%.
just started.
The guy at Woolies handing out freebies, trying to get people to buy.
Yeah. Well, actually, let's discuss that. How was that like? What was your first year in real estate like?
Yeah.
What did that look like?
The reality was, like you said earlier, I did engineering beforehand. So I've done, I graduated from UNSW.
Yeah.
Some honors, I forgot. But it was aerospace engineering. My colleague who started the company actually also did engineering.
Yeah.
After the degree, I did a bit of civil work.
Yeah.
I worked on the trains. So the new
wow.
trains that came out in 2015, I was a part of that design.
Yeah.
But 3 years in the Air Force. And then at one point I was going to be shipped somewhere, but my family situation changed.
Yeah.
I decided to get back into basketball. First game, injured myself. First time I've ever been in hospital apart from, being
What
born.
did you break your ankle?
Torn some muscle in my ankle.
Oh, wow.
So I never
Torn a
been in
ligament,
crutches.
gone.
And I went to KFC Town Hall to get the. It's at the time was the only place to get hot and spicy chicken.
Oh, yeah, the best. That was the best.
Went there, and then as I was going back to the station, this booming voice, Mark, turn around,
Yeah.
and it's my mate Don. He called out, who was the guy that also did uni with me.
Yeah.
Went up to his office, super successful guy, super successful team. When I had a chat with him, I was like, man, this is something that's really cool. Could I be a part of this? And
And there was no sales experience prior to that, right?
No. Since leaving the Air Force, I applied for a whole bunch of sales roles.
Yeah.
I ended up picking a furniture company. I applied for a sales role there. For a few months, I was in customer service, tried sales, and then after 6 months, I was in engineering and marketing. So they kept me there for a bit. And when the time for change came, the opportunity was there. He said, give it a try. After 2 weekends, I quit my job.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You quit your engineering job
Yeah.
to go into real estate sales.
Yeah. So
Wow.
literally at Maryland's shopping center.
Yeah.
On the weekends.
Oh, wow. Like handing out flyers.
At a kiosk. Yeah. Handing out
Wow.
flyers.
So that was where it began.
Yep.
What was the journey like before that? I know you've had a very interesting past. You've worked a lot of interesting
Oh,
jobs.
man. It's one of those things where, the saying, try before you buy it.
Yeah.
I did that with many things.
Yeah.
I think I had a pretty conservative bringing up.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess that led me to be curious and have an appetite about so many things.
Yeah.
So working in kitchens, working in bars, adult entertainment for a little bit, which people don't know.
Yeah.
Which is, once upon a time, this was something.
We'll need to find some photos so we can put it up on the potty.
Oh, hey, hopefully you never find all the videos. But look, that was a fun time. And I had really good people around me.
Yeah.
So it's those people that when they offer things to you that would take on board and just give it a go. And because of that, I've tried many different industries and different places all around Sydney, regional Sydney. So, yeah.
Interesting. So would you say then it's super important to have the right person come into your life? And, obviously we meet all sorts of people in our life, right? Not all of them are going to be good for us and not all of them want the best for us.
Yeah.
What would you say is like that pivotal moment for you? Is like, you obviously bumped into Don and Don is now this guy. He's probably wearing a suit, he's looking good. He's looking fresh, doesn't look beat up and, he's doing well. Like there's a very big difference because a lot of people cross paths with people they've met a long time ago and they either look like they're super successful or they might look like a bum.
Yeah.
And it's like people take advice from everyone, right? So how important do you think it is for people to take advice from the right people?
Now he's in suits and things, but believe it, when we met in front of KFC Town Hall, he was actually in trainers, also injured from a basketball.
Oh, really?
So that was the thing that connected us.
Yeah.
But I think rather than trying to find signs, I believe the young term these days is vibe, right? If you vibe well with someone, if you've got a good energy or connection with them, you tend to trust them a bit more and open yourself up to that. I think my whole life I've opened myself up pretty well. Sometimes not so good for myself. I've been pretty naive and I've made lots of mistakes, but learned from them. So at one point we were in Vegas when I was younger. There was a thing where we had to climb this rock climbing machine thing, right?
Yeah.
And if you won, you got money. And I got a good amount of money. Like back then, it was, like as a kid, that was awesome. But I got duped because there was a homeless guy on the side who I thought was homeless, but wasn't.
The scammers, the homeless scammers are crazy.
He came to me and he was super nice.
Yeah.
Also a little bit intimidating, but at the time I was like, you know what? He sold me.
Yeah.
his story. And I
Wow,
thought,
what a salesman.
Take the money. And my parents found out. And the thing was, we went to a restaurant later, and the guy was next to us ordering better food than we were.
Well, that's one way of life saying, fuck you, right? Like that's literally life saying fuck you. And that happens all the time. And I think a lot of people don't realize how crazy this world is. And there's a lot of scammers out there. There's a lot of people that, just take you for a ride and they take advantage of people out there. And it's just sad because I know how genuinely good of a person you are. So, it happens. It happens to the best of us.
Yeah. I mean, that's how we were raised, benefit of doubt, try to help people out and live that sort of benevolent life. And even still with what we're doing, we learn to, I guess, restrain ourselves because as a salesperson, particularly someone that's a bit more genuine, sometimes you might think at the start, to get a deal, you're really thankful for that, especially your first few deals. And the type of money that's coming in as a real estate guy, like coming from a 9-to-5 job to get, 5 digits coming in one hit.
It's crazy.
It's huge.
Yeah, crazy.
And not seeing that often, feel like, okay, I'm blessed with this situation, this opportunity. I've got to give some back.
100%.
And sometimes we end up bending over backwards when we don't necessarily have to, right? But this is the lesson that I've learned over time that my mentors like Don, like our big boss Justin as well, said, look, at the end of the day, you've got to value yourself also. So these days, less discounts for people.
Because you got to value yourself.
They're getting crazy deals.
It is. You guys have crazy deals as well and great opportunities. And that's actually that brings us to a very interesting point here. I think it's quite fascinating that a lot of people, when they first start something new, they're really desperate to whether it's to impress their boss or get a sale or whatever it is. So what sort of insight would you have for someone new? For example, like you guys are in real estate. You do well, so let's keep it relevant to real estate. So let's just say someone brand new get into real estate. It's obviously a sales role. It's not an easy sales role because I think what's the statistic for real estate agents?
There's over 240,000 agents.
240,000.
Yeah, in Australia.
That's like 1% of the population.
And it is one of these industries that it is very easy to get qualification to actually sell.
Yeah.
Of course, there's different processes. Like first, you've got to get certificate registration. That's your level 1, like entry level, right?
Yeah.
But you've got to sell under someone that's fully licensed.
Yeah.
Then after year 2, you've got your experience. You work up to your class 2, then your class 1.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things that I think needs to be vetted because the turnover for those agents is
insane, right?
Is insane. So people, even that come to our agency after a couple of weeks, realize this is not for them. And the thing is, they're attracted to the glitz and glamour, the $1 million listings lifestyle.
Course.
And mind you, those guys, some people say that's scripted stuff. Look, some of it probably is. But knowing those people, the Monica Twos, the Gavin Rubinsteins, these guys, who they are on the show is pretty much who they are in real life.
So it's pretty hectic.
It is. And you might think that, that's only for the top shelf. But the reality is when you're off, when others are off, the 9-to-5, that's when you're on as a real estate agent. So if you're jumping into this career thinking you're going to get big bucks, going to get, quick cash and drive the fancy cars, drive the nice suits, easy early on, no, it's like property, it's a long-term game.
Yeah.
And it's something that you work on your craft. You know? As you know, you're a fantastic sales guy.
I try my best.
Sales is something some say you're born with. I think you can learn and develop your skills in sales, but there's a difference when you're dealing with someone that has charisma or charm.
That's why the young generation actually saw this yesterday. The word Riz comes from charisma.
Oh, really?
That's where it comes from. How crazy is that? The young generation.
I didn't know. Wow.
Yeah. So Riz comes from charisma.
What's Riz?
So Riz is pretty much charisma, your ability to charm someone.
Okay.
So it's Gen Z talk. So I think we're a little bit out of that generation now.
Oh, man. I think...
you got kids. At least you'll learn it faster than I will.
Oh, man. They say some stuff I have no idea. I had to learn things like skibbity and... It's a dude in a toilet.
Yeah. It's like I don't. Yeah, look. Sometimes I think the future is going to have a new language. Okay. It's like English 2.0 or something, but it's going to be very, very difficult. So, yeah, I mean, like new agents struggle in the industry because obviously, for a lot of people, they think real estate, big money, big bucks, whatever. but it's still sales at the end of the day.
Oh, 100%.
Sales is fucking hard for a lot of people. What's the sort of like churn rate that you see with all your staff and, you know, the newcomers and the newbies that come through the industry? How long does a beginner real estate agent last? And what's the difference between someone like yourself, someone like the rest of the other sales execs at Cube who clean up and do, you know, 50, 60, 100 properties a year? What's the difference between a guy that just comes in with the dream and these guys that are clearing like almost $1 million in comms a year?
Yeah, look, I'll put it this way. At one point, say the start of 2023, we had a massive Christmas party and we reevaluated our staff and who we had on the books.
Yep.
A lot of it was contract work, but we had about 126 selling agents.
Yep.
Okay, whether they were full-time or part-time, they were selling agents. But the reality is less than 20%, not even 12% of the staff that we had at the time actually accounted for 90% of sales.
Wow. So about, 14 people,
Yeah.
pretty much, if my maths is correct, 14 people just racked up the majority of sales for the company.
Thereabouts, yeah. So when we think about that sort of number, even amongst those 14, about 6 of them did 80% of those
that.
sales. So this is, there's a real difference, right? And while we put a lot of focus in the past on growing the team, because we go through different stages of, I guess, business evolution, right?
Yeah.
We were through our growth stage. Last year, because of the current circumstances, we actually went through a leaning process.
Yeah.
And that naturally occurred with people leaving on their own accord and we having to have discussions if this was the right fit for them. You know? As you said, it's not for everyone. Especially in real estate. You really have to have a passion for it. And that's probably the first difference. Everyone genuine that is a gun has a genuine passion about
For real estate.
Whether it's the industry itself and they like some aspect of it, like construction or development or renovation or design or architecture, that sort of thing, or building their own portfolio. Interestingly enough, a lot of the guns that are involved, that are in the company also have, and we do encourage, to build a portfolio of their own.
Of course. So you should be a master, not just a master of your craft, but you should actually practice what you preach, right? So that actually brings us to a good point. So like, you've been in the company 7 years, right? Which is not a huge journey. 7 years is pretty much a high school degree. One extra year, or if you repeated a year, then that's your high school degree. But so 7 years in real estate. Where were you at in your own personal journey, like in real estate, before you started with the industry? Like, did you have property? Did you invest?
So I was like most people.
Yeah.
The reason I jumped in was the lifestyle change was one, but if I'm honest with myself, and most people should be, I was attracted by the money.
Of course.
You know, I was thinking 2 or 3 deals is going to get me the 6 figures
salary.
Yeah, a good amount of cash that I was working a whole year for, which you could earn in a day.
Yeah, exactly,
you know?
exactly.
And that's what, I guess, lit my fire to get into it, right? And look, at the start, it was about that. But at the same time, you know, be genuine to people to get their trust to make the sales. All of the sales that I've had have gone from exchange to settlement. I've not had a single one fall through. So I've done the right by my client, right by the industry. But it was the money that attracted me first. But over time, especially once my clients started to settle their properties and move in, getting invited to like a housewarming or a house blessing or like a house party to hand over keys, it felt good. I like to give back. You know that I'm involved with the community for a few things. That was one of the things where, like, we helped a family who had been renting for more than 20 years. They were a Filipino family, had been rejected by multiple agents, and then eventually got in touch with me through Facebook, and then got them into their first property. So for 30 years, they had been working. They had never owned their property, had been dreaming about it. And then finally got their first, like, full cried. Their whole family, like, working, right? And then they introduced me to their siblings who also ended up also purchasing. So I found that there was a commonality in a lot of people, especially within my community and other minorities, that it's hard to get into purchasing property, especially in Sydney.
Sydney is incredibly difficult for those who are watching who don't know Sydney house prices. It's ridiculous. I think it's top 3 in the world right now, right? I think Sydney prices, it's crazy. So being able to afford a property here is insane.
Yeah.
But there are options. There's always options. And I didn't know this until I started getting into real estate myself. I didn't realize, there's all sorts of different options and pathways. You might not need to buy in Sydney straight away. You could buy somewhere else. Yeah. You could buy some new developments. You can buy different types of property as well. There's all sorts of different things. But I think a lot of people just don't have that education. I think what Cube Corp does well is you guys do focus on education. I know you have a lot of seminars, you do webinars, you do a lot of social media content. And I think that's very, very important to have that position in a society or in a niche where real estate is seen to be really intimidating because it is the biggest purchase for the majority of people in their entire life, and it is their life savings going into a property.
And I think Australian stats are like less than 80% of Australians purchase property once in their life.
Yeah.
Right. That's actually lowered slightly.
Yeah.
It's closer to about 78%. But
yeah,
that statistic is really interesting because you question how come? What about the other 20%? And a lot of them don't continue to purchase more properties because either they're uneducated, there's a lot of misinformation, or they just find it too hard, or they've had a bad experience in the past. And that's something that, like, I'll talk about a personal story, which is my close family member also purchased on my wife's side. They had a fantastic property, which was in Harris Street in the city. Beautiful 2-bed that was awesome. Being Asian, they abused the system and didn't manage the property well enough, right?
Yeah.
So they ended up selling early to cut their losses, which, fair enough. But the truth is, if you're selling and just cutting your, breaking even, often those people don't take into account the costs that they incurred during the process, right?
Correct.
So that's a loss.
Correct.
And that was a major loss for them because if they had held on to it, managed it better, not really abused the system, then they're sitting on a multi-million-dollar property right now.
That's crazy.
In a crazy location. So this sort of stuff we don't know. And education is a big piece of what we do at Cube Corp. So we do the seminars, we do workshops, and for a good part of, when I started, while I was learning the craft, the industry and the ins and outs of it, we were sharing what we learnt to the wider community also. And that's important for us, especially for the younger generation, to pump that sort of stuff to them. Because, people know about first home buyer benefits. We ask them. Maybe they know 1 or 2. The first home owner grant, 10K, fantastic. And then the stamp duty concession. But they don't realize there's 6 to 8 different government handouts, if they're eligible, that they can get into.
Heaps.
So it's up to us to sort of share that and share what we can genuinely. Not expecting. And we've always had that motto. And we had, as an example, you were part of one of the workshops that we did for investment. Particularly interstate investment. Whilst Sydney is crazy expensive, there's other options elsewhere, right? But the number one thing is that I've learned from a lot of successful business owners and the people in our industry is that you got to make your money work for you, right? Me personally, I think long gone are the days of getting a place, paying it off, and just working towards that one property to pay your mortgage off over 30, 40 years, right? I think these days you can leverage the banks, leverage the system, and work off what you've got, get into the pool earlier, right? And take advantage of the benefits of buying an Australian property. There's other places around the world, and we've got friends that have been wanting us to sell internationally a long time. Crazy high growths and different cash rates and whatever. But at the end of the day, consistency is what Australia has to provide. And I think you buy something expensive in Sydney, it's going to stay expensive.
Of course.
Like eastern suburbs, some people
crazy.
Think that's reached its cap. No, I think it's going to continue to grow because of what the areas have to offer and that exclusivity of being there. So lots of opportunities. And I think if you've got that cash and you're not sure where to put it, if you're not going to, nothing against stocks or crypto, that sort of stuff. The young people love it. We double in that also. But our main thing is real estate. That's what we know. And it's one of those things that this young group, not just a single guy. At the seminar that we did at Canberra, they'd been umming and ahhing for a few years. They were in high school. Finally, they're out. They've had their first year of work. 19, 20 years old.
So young.
Super young. And I was like, man, you guys should be out partying and hanging out with the LGs, picking up like
The ABGs, the,
the
LGs.
ABGs. I don't know what you call them these days, but
Yeah, well, it was LGs in our
the
day.
pretty girls.
Yeah.
I don't know where people hang out, but
Yeah.
they weren't. They were working hard. They were saving deposit,
Mm.
and I was like, man, what are you saving up for? Rolex or something nice,
Yeah.
something flashy, good car.
Yeah.
Which most young people would,
Correct,
right? At the
correct.
time when I was young, man, everything that I earned went out,
Yeah, yeah.
for a good time.
It happens.
But these boys, I remember 3 of them. They were introduced by one of our agents, Andy. Young Vietnamese boys, not ugly, handsome dudes.
Yeah.
They were saving up, and they were like, you know what? Rather than splurging on that, which they could at any time,
100%.
they said we want to put it somewhere secure.
100%.
Sure. They jumped in. They put down a small deposit, 5% deposit. Got an apartment in Canberra. At the time, it was about 300 and something.
Yep.
And now valuations come in just over 450K.
Wow.
So if they had not jumped in early on those purchases, and that was only about 2-3 years ago. Oh,
Yeah.
no.
It wasn't even. It was last year.
Last year. So they had purchased around 380K.
Yep.
So 70K or
Yeah.
thereabouts
Yeah.
in capital growth, which we did not project.
Yeah.
But it happened.
And only a 5% deposit for that, which is what, 5% of 380,
17 and a half, 18K.
about 18 grand plus, taxes, fees, stamps, duties, whatever.
Stamp duty is like 2% in Canberra.
Correct. So very
super low.
So call it sub 20K, and to save $20,000, especially if you're living at home and you're going out, you have a job, even if you have a part-time job or a casual job, it is very likely to be able to save 15 to 20 grand a year if you're living at home. So imagine you're able to do that, spend 1 or 2 years in the trenches, rather than spending the money on a Rolex, which a lot of young kids do. The amount of people that I knew that were 21, 20 with, a Submariner on their wrist or, at least a Datejust or something, it's insane. Yeah, okay. And I know that they're on 40K, 50K jobs, just fresh out of uni. So I think people have substantial sort of influence from like society, from social media, and people want to follow some sort of a trend. But, people who are rooted in their future often try to make better investment decisions, which I think is really fascinating. So like with that being said, like your journey in real estate has been very, very interesting. What's that done for you personally? Like, have you expanded your portfolio? Do you have like 100 properties now? What does it look like?
Not quite 100. We've had a humble journey. We didn't have anything.
Yeah.
And now we're on the way to about 7 properties in 7 years.
7 and 7. Wow.
But on top of that, we've also had the opportunity to be a part of developments.
Yeah.
So that's taking a site raw, knocking it down and building it up and selling it. So we've had the opportunity to expand our own experience and portfolio because of that. So it's not just based in Sydney, almost in every state.
Wow.
Well, at least the ones that matter.
Well, let's not talk about the ones that don't. But yeah, that's fascinating. That's absolutely fascinating. I know I literally wrote out like a script for everyone at home, like not a script, but like a series of questions and things that I kind of wanted to speak to Mark about, because it's not every day you can speak to like a sales director or, kind of understand the ins and outs and workings of it. Because Corp has quite a strong reputation, especially in the Asian community, for what they do. And, they help a lot of developers sell a lot of property. So very, very hard to, for example, dive and have a deep dive into these sort of things. But we've talked about your journey. What about the challenges? Like, what's some of the hardest things you probably faced? You obviously came to Australia at a very young age. What were the challenges there? Like, was your English good? Did you pick it up straight away? Because Filipinos learn English, right? And it's a natural language.
Karaoke.
Yeah. Exactly. They can all sing and all play guitar. But what was that journey like growing up? Were you bullied? Were you like the stud of the school? What did that look like?
I mean, it was different. I was like this scrawny little dude that was excited about everything.
Yeah. Like the hypoactive,
I don't think it was diagnosed at the time, but probably
ADHD.
I had ADD or ADHD.
I think most of us do. To be honest, I'm just like that all the time.
It's just one of those things that everything I wanted to, and I have to say, honest, comparing myself to my brother and my sister, I'm the eldest of 3.
Yeah.
My parents would gladly testify that I was probably the problem kid being the eldest, right?
Yeah.
But there's a lot of stuff that because, I always wanted to rebel and try different things, I put myself out there. So when I was in school, I remember the first thing was primary school, right? Oh, sorry, kindy.
Kindy, yeah, that's right.
Kindy. I don't know how I can remember. It was so vivid. Miss Clutterbuck, she was our teacher.
Cluddlebutt.
Clutterbuck. And she had this like big, those big books that were like the size of my body, right?
Yeah, the huge ones.
We went for what's that thing? Orientation.
Orientation
right?
day,
And
yeah.
she's reading to the other kids that are already in the class.
Yeah.
Oh, these kids were so dumb in my thought. I was like, man, how do you not know the answer? She's asking questions. So I'm at the back going, huh. And then I was, what was the thing my teacher called me? I think my teacher at kindy put in the report card that I was like an arrogant little boy.
Wow, I mean, I don't know if that's the right thing to do as a teacher as well, but
it stuck with me.
Yeah,
And
wow.
Believe it, but this teacher ended up being my year 6 teacher in a different school.
Oh, in a different school. So she moved schools and you moved schools.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we went from
Arch
botany
nemesis.
but I ended up being good friends with her kids
Yeah,
because
wow.
we went to the same
Yeah,
high
yeah.
school. And then she, like, whenever we see each other, now Mrs. Jessup, I remember it's just very different.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, so proud you used to be like this little asshole.
Yeah.
And now you're like buying me lunch. Or
Yeah. So has she bought a property from you yet?
the son's in talks.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh, wow. That's
so,
awesome.
But yeah, it's one of those things where it was humbling.
Yeah.
You know, I was always a little bit different.
Yeah.
My food was different. I
Yeah.
used to get teased for like.
Oh, it's just like when we used to bring like eggs to school, or we used to have like dumplings, pork and chive dumplings.
Man.
Peace out, laters. When you open that lunchbox, everyone thinks you let off
can
like a
smell it.
stink bomb.
Oh man,
you know?
yeah.
Ew, what the fuck's that smell? Oh my god, that's disgusting. It's like the
teachers
Asian
would-
food, you know?
Teachers would get annoyed because you'd want it heated it up. But
Yeah.
yeah. After a while, I was like, man, nah, I want white food. You know, I want like sandwiches and.
Fucking steak and mash. at
Bro,
school.
the whitest food is like what is it?
Ham and
spaghetti.
cheese spaghetti.
Spaghetti in a sandwich.
Yeah, but you got. I was fucking.
It's like double carbs, but it was the best. I would trade like crispy pork and
Yeah.
rice.
Yeah.
Which the kids were like, yeah, we'll trade. I had like 4 sandwiches.
Yeah.
And then for
your rice.
for whatever I had, right? Meat pies and oh man, loved it.
Oh, fuck.
But when my parents found out, they got the shit say. They're like,
that's-
all right,
that was
I'll give you white sandwich.
Yeah.
They just give me bread. Wrapped up. Like at one point, my mum, and bless her, like she tried her best to really look after the three of us.
Yeah.
And we appreciate it. And we have these fun stories where it's just like, if she really hated us, it's just bread and butter.
Yeah.
So some days, no butter.
Not even fairy bread. No hundreds and thousands.
Yeah. So because you know what? They thought hundreds and thousands were poison for rats. You know the circle, like
The little dots.
the like mothballs. yeah. That's what they thought. Like
Oh my
Melvin,
God.
you're filler, right? Your parents probably thought the same thing. They had like these mothball things, like
Yeah, for
and
the
they're like,
for the
"Don't eat 'em."
cupboard. For the cupboards. Yeah.
Um,
It's like for us, we had a shoe shop, so we had those silica beads. And I used to think they were candy, so I'd rip them open. And my mother, no, you can't eat that. But that's what hundreds of thousands look like. It's the rainbow version of that, so I get it.
in terms of bullying, look, not really. Year 8.
That's good.
When is it year 7 when we went to high school?
Yeah.
That was it. Yeah, no, there was a bit of, but I think guys are just
That's
size-
just friction
sizing
when
each
you're
other
young
up.
as well. Yeah, that's what happens as well.
But yeah, you had fights and whatever. I remember it was very interesting. It was like
Yeah.
the Wogs versus the Asians versus the West, the Southies versus the Bra Boys at the time. So
So you had a pretty multicultural school.
yeah, well, we were the minority, of course. There was like less than 10 Asians.
Oh wow, it's the
in,
complete opposite
I
to
think
me.
about 120. It was Waverley College.
Yeah,
So,
right.
Great school.
Yeah.
And I
We
was,
were down the road technically because I went to Sydney Boys, right? So Waverley and Sydney Boys not very far from each other.
yeah, but you're like focused on like
Bro, we were just nerds.
grades.
We had 210 students in our grade. I remember, like not exactly 210, but somewhere around there, 218 or something. And I think I would say not highly confident. There was like 25 white boys, and then the rest of us were just Chinese, Indian, Korean, Vietnamese. Like that's just the rest of us. So complete opposite.
How many did you have graduating class?
Graduating class, yeah, that was it. Everyone graduated.
200.
Yeah, 200 plus.
So we had close to 200.
We had no one drop out in my grade that I know of. No one dropped out.
Oh man, we had heaps.
Yeah.
So our graduating class was about 90, I think.
What, cut down from 200?
Yeah. From our year
Holy
12
shit.
class wasn't huge.
Wow.
But it was close. Like everyone pretty much knew each other.
Yeah, our year 12, everyone knew each other, but we had 210 plus. So it was huge. Yeah, huge. We had a huge graduation.
That's good. That's good. I mean, we still have, like, this year is our 20-year
20th anniversary.
anniversary.
Jesus, the amount of stories that you get out of those anniversaries are insane.
They were good. Mostly drinking related, but
Yeah.
so
But a lot of people do really well in life, you know. It's always good to see friends from high school do really well and advance in their careers and build really cool things. And yeah, I mean, that's always fascinating to find out. So yeah. But yeah, going back to the point, it's like you have this certain mindset persona, some certain aura around you when it comes to work and work ethic. Because I know you work hard and you have kids. And me and the team sit here all the time looking at your stories going, how the fuck does Mark go out every day with his kids, pick them up from school, take them to school, on the weekends take them to somewhere, one day they're in Canberra, then they're in Melbourne, now they're in the Philippines, then they're in China, and then you're still closing deals, like fucking shitload of deals, and you're still helping run a company. So it's like, how does that work ethic? I know with that, you're not working a 9 to 5. I know that 100%.
yeah.
You're probably working just like me, like 7 a.m. till like 7 a.m.
you are, buddy, workhorse as well.
Yeah.
But would you disagree that this is not work and it's like a lifestyle?
I think we just enjoy what we do. Like, I don't feel like I'm working. Everyone's always like, oh, how do you do 16-hour days, Alan? And I'm like, they're like, oh, you preach this toxic work mentality. I'm like, no, it's not. I actually like what I do. And at the same time is I'm a very big seeker of life. You know, I really enjoy challenges, overcoming them, figuring them out, even though sometimes I want to rip my hair out and just run into a wall. And I'm sure you've had those experiences many, many times.
Look, I don't have much hair.
Yeah, and that's why I've been creating a hair serum for you.
It's getting better.
That's right. I'm actually creating a hair growth serum just for Mark. Developing one right now. But yeah, like what created that sort of work ethic, that mindset? Because 100%, we've dealt with so many staff. We've hired many people. And it's very distinct that 99% of people just either cannot keep up with us, don't understand how or what we do. And like, how did you get to this position where you can go and do whatever it takes to close a deal? And, you know, how did you get there?
Probably like the way I was raised.
Yeah.
So I definitely thank my parents, my mum and dad.
Yeah.
They've always believed in work hard because your work will never fail you, right?
Yeah.
And I still hold that to be true. And at the end of the day, you've got to be genuine about what you do. If you don't like what you're doing, get the fuck out, do something else, right?
Yeah.
That you're passionate about. Because if you like it, you're going to do well at it. So I've learned to like everything that I've done.
Did you ever start off hating something and then eventually you went, oh, you know, it's not as bad as I thought?
Not really.
Yeah.
Probably just relationships, you know, like girlfriends and stuff.
Okay.
But that's okay, you know.
Yeah,
You know, the thing is, I'm pretty sure I know what I want.
Yeah.
And if I don't want it, I'll know it early.
Yeah.
So just cut it early.
Yeah.
You know, so you don't get stuck in these situations where you're grouch, like grumpy about shit. And there's a lot of people that just complain about being there. And when they talk about it, I'm just like, then just get out.
Yeah.
You know, I've got a good friend who is in a place where she does it, like just complains about the boss and whatever. I'm like, man, you have an opportunity to leave. Just do it. You know, then you don't have to put your energy into complaining about that.
Yeah.
I love going to work. I love going to see people. I love talking to people.
Yeah.
I've liked that my whole life.
Yeah.
Right. In terms of like the work ethic, I've just surrounded myself with the same sort of people. If there's people that are trash in my view, I don't want to be around them.
I agree.
I'll often let them know.
Yeah.
The guys that are in my team, when we had teams, they know that I work hard.
Yeah.
And if they want to be with me, they've got to work
I agree.
hard also.
Otherwise, how else will they keep up with your success? It's not like we're here to not just lead the way and then just give handouts.
I mean, we all work our own pace.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's like, we've only got 24 hours in a day.
Yeah.
You know, being an asshole in class and questioning everything, it's become a real strength of mine. You know? And it's good that, you know, my parents were able to, I don't think they realized, but they also nurtured that too. So I was involved in everything. While doing sports during school, I was also doing scouts, which is a part of how I was raised and my mentors throughout that. So people like Trish and Mo, these guys, that I think are still in that
That
space.
space, yep.
Man, that was so cool. But the way they taught me, you can't do that now. They taught me how to swim by throwing me in a watering hole.
Yeah, if you do that now, you'll see you later, bro. You're
sued.
straight to the police. Go on, bro.
But it's one of these things that I was given the opportunity to grow,
Yeah.
and it wasn't some candy ass glass covered
Yeah.
experience. It was go and do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, just lots of experiences that I was.
We're just getting down and dirty, like getting your hands dirty and really experiencing life. I think
We don't know how long we're going to live for, right? We've all got 2 hands, 2 legs, 2 eyes, 2 ears, and 1 mouth. Use everything that we can that we've been given.
Yeah.
I'm a Catholic born and raised dude.
Yeah.
I'm involved with that
Yep.
community also. And I believe that, God gave me these blessings, and it's foolish of me to squander it and not use these gifts and talents that I've got. So once upon a time where I was, my teachers called me arrogant for constantly talking and
Yeah. A generation now where everything is either sugar coated, there's participation awards. Everyone believes that, you're entitled to some sort of praise. But no, fuck, at the end of the day, like the more praise you get, the more you become complacent. And I think we need challenges in life. And, you shouldn't try to protect your kid from everything. You shouldn't try to, go out there and like, I'm pretty sure both you and me probably had similar childhoods. We had to do what we had to, had to do to get around, to survive, to do whatever. I came from a position where we weren't very fortunate. My parents, didn't have a lot of time for me. I had to learn how to catch buses, trains, public transport. I had to make money for myself from like 14 to support myself. Like, it's figuring things out. And if I was ever handed an education of life where I was super well insulated from life, then I don't think I could be where I am today. I feel like everything would just have a safety net. I'm all good. But we make decisions. We're not young anymore. So every time we make a decision, it has a real impact financially, relationship-wise, environmentally. Every decision we make has a real solid impact in everything that we do. Yeah. So I think it's just so important that upbringing, is done very well. And I think you're doing a great job with your kids as well. They're doing so much.
I used to get so much hate. Hey, like you mentioned bringing them to places, man.
Yeah.
Actually, I was on the socials because I'm pretty shit with like remembering things.
Yeah.
And also like saving stuff like photos and that sort of shit. So when my daughter was born, I was like, all right, I'm going to document the whole process, # Zaza Adventures.
Yeah.
So that whenever I need to, I can just go back. And, touch wood. Hopefully Facebook never dies. Otherwise, all my archive information is gone. But I started from that. And then in part, like bringing that, continuing it into real estate was sharing my journey through it also. Some of the videos I first started with, man, so cringe, right?
Yeah.
The old posts that I used to do.
That was,
even still, Michelle knows, super cringe posts very recently.
Yeah.
But you see the growth. Oh, going back to the kids thing. So I used to show that I will take them to site. I will take them for inspections or talks with clients. I used to get so much hate. People will call me, actually call and say, hey, man, I think you shouldn't do that for your kids. That's bad parenting. They should be, either playing sport or being at home or whatever.
Bro.
I'm like, man, but you know what? I'll take it.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to, deep down, I'll be like, yeah, fuck you, bro. Like, my kids will have...
Whatever education.
The thing is, we had to bring them out of necessity, right?
Yeah.
If we don't have childcare all the time, my parents are also busy. We couldn't have people looking after them. Ling and I are both working parents. That's my wife, right? So we can't just leave them at home. That's bad. So we had to bring them along with us. And I think at the start, people just thought because it's different that it's not right.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because we're seeing fruits of what we've done.
Yeah. You're selling property now.
Oh man, my daughter, she's in year 2 now, but last year we got her into arts class because she likes drawing and painting, that sort of stuff. Yeah. And the first task was like, draw a city like your dream town.
Yeah.
They're always, expected the kids are going to draw unicorns and clouds and fairies and shit. My daughter, I was not even there. My wife wasn't even there. She drew a city, right?
Yeah.
And it said Canberra, and one of them had Wova, which was the building. and another one had a boat hotel because they're the hotels that we go to.
Yeah.
And the teacher was like, what what is this? And she goes, because of this is going to get me through high school, and this is my property. And then, and the kids were like, what? Doesn't make sense. The parent, and we spoke to, my wife spoke to the teacher, so she explained.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, that's really cool.
Yeah.
And my son, such a smart ass, this boy.
Yeah.
I love him to bits. But this guy, man, I think mum or dad was at the shops with him, and he wanted to get a toy or he wanted to get something.
Yeah.
And they were like, where are you? Well, no, you can't get that. Where are you going to get your money from? And he goes, no problem. I'll get a grande. I was like, what's a grande? It's my investment property. Also, I was like, such a fun answer. But these things, like, we pass on to them, and they don't realize that they're learning about investment
100%.
and learning about paving the way for a better future. Right?
100%.
So they wouldn't have got those lessons early, and they're still super young.
How old are your kids?
5 and 7.
5 and 7, already talking about investment property. Like, that's crazy.
But they know, because it's like they don't have, and I purposely don't. We can buy them whatever they want, right? But we purposely don't buy them endless amounts of toys or cupboards full of shit, right?
Yeah.
Because we want them also to make a decision, right? There are some things which they say, oh, there's a couple of toys that I really want. I like this Beyblade. I like this Pokemon. Cool.
Yeah.
That's my focus thing. But what are you going to do with the rest? Oh, we're going to invest it. We're going to hold till later. We can put for something.
Wow.
Like, yes, good. You know.
Wow.
And it's cool because it also looks cool when we've got clients and stuff that are coming through, and then there's a little mini me.
Yeah.
Not really mini, but little boy in a suit handing out flyers. Hi, please come upstairs.
Yeah. I think that's awesome though. I don't know why anyone would complain about that. Like, I think that sort of parenting is the best parenting, because your children get to see what you do. They get to learn from the positives of your career choice and your journey, and they get to see your work ethic. I think nothing beats that. Like,
not everyone has this opportunity.
I agree.
You know?
I agree.
Like a lot of people in medical, they can't, bring their kids, kids to work. But it's something that if we can, while we can, why not?
100%. 100%.
We just gotta bring them when we're not like drinking or.
Yeah, that's right. Well, that's a different story.
Fun.
If you do that, then they might go the other end of the spectrum, which is
being Asian, they know how to cheers.
and 16 different languages now as well.
Very crazy. Yeah, the languages, they pick up everything.
Yeah.
You know, when they were kindy, my daughter they're asking, showing different colors to see, where their level of thinking is at, where their knowledge is at.
Yeah.
They're like, what color is this? It's red. What color is this? Oh, it's blue.
Yeah.
What color is this? Oh, it's verde. And I'm like,
whoa.
And they're like, it's Spanish for green. I was like, where do you get that from? I didn't teach that from you.
Yeah.
And it's like stuff they watch on like YouTube.
Yeah.
And it's like, what color is this? Amarillo. I was like, whoa, it's even got the accent.
It's got the accent, yeah.
Because of them, I learned stuff too.
Yeah.
So
I think that's so cool though. Like, I think that's such a great relationship. I look at your relationship with your kids and I'm like, that's great. That's something that, I would definitely aspire to do when I have kids.
They teach me Pokemon.
Yeah, which
I only knew Gen 1. Like
the Charizards, your Squirtles, your Pikachus. Yeah.
And then they taught me all this new stuff.
There's so many Pokemon now. It's crazy. It's crazy. There's no way you'll remember any of them. They just keep looking like more objects. Like, this could be a Pokemon for all you know.
This is
probably a Pokemon.
There is there's a teapot Pokemon and a teacup Pokemon. It's actually a ghost type. My daughter told me.
It's a ghost type as well. Oh, it's crazy. But yeah, no, that's very fascinating. I think kids form such an important core in, like, not just our lives, but their lives as well. And we do a lot of what we do, and I see this with my parents, not myself so far just yet, but they go through a lot of sacrifices. Yeah. So what would you say, like, some of those sacrifices that you've had to make along the way that's kind of brought you to where you are today? Because not everything would have been smooth sailing. There's going to be nights where I'm sure you and Ling will probably have fights, where you might not be able to see the kids, or you and your boss, or you and your friends, or you might have to sack some friends, or whatever it was. What sort of challenges have you had to kind of go through for you to be able to pull off what you've pulled off and, rise into becoming a sales director and becoming, quite a respected real estate agent in Australia?
Look, plenty. When I first started, it was commission only. And so slowly was eating into savings, But after a couple of months, then the deals started.
How long did it take for you to get your first deal?
3 months.
Okay, that's not bad.
I quit my job because those first few weekends, I got 7 deposits.
Oh shit.
So by the end of my first month, look, I was pretty gun at getting people to commit.
Yeah.
But I didn't understand the process.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand the industry.
Yeah,
Right? And people's decision making on that level. Right?
Yeah.
I figured people putting 5K in,
And then they're set.
they're
locked
set, they're
in.
locked in, but it's not the case. So I was excited. I was celebrating every EOI that I got, right? But over the next month or so, those 7 to 12 deals that I could have got all
pulled.
all died, you know?
Wow.
And that's no one's fault but myself. That's a mentality that I've always had. Don't try not to blame others.
Yeah. And I think that's so important.
So that's one of the challenges, was to break that mindset and make money. But to make it happen, man, weekends, afternoons, evenings, like we've delivered contracts, getting them signed just before 11, 12 o'clock at night, because we needed them signed on the date, right? Like to make it happen. And I've recorded that. People are like, what are you doing at like 2 o'clock in the morning? We've called people up at bloody 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. And because we know it's a good deal, we wake them up, they get super angry. But in the morning, once they realize they've gotten something good, super happy with us. Lots of things we've sacrificed. Family time, my parents and greater family and friends. Look, I lost a lot of friends as well. Even doing stuff on socials, a lot of people thought, oh there's that Cube Corp dickhead. Just he's only here to sell property. Hey, Cube Corp Mark, that sort of thing. But little did they know, when they were going to get into their first property a few years later,
they'll call
who's
you.
the first person they're calling? They're calling
So even though
Mark.
Dickhead Mark, hey, stuck around.
It's one of those things that a mentor of mine who's sort of has passed, Cohen Ray, was talking about. For you to really be successful, right, you've got to be seen, heard before you are known. And I was trying to get out there. So there's a lot of stuff that I had to develop a thick skin, not just physically,
100%.
like to deal with people. Rejection is huge. Family time, 100%. There were times where I wish I spent more time with my family, more time with my friends, more time with extended family also. 4 years before I took a holiday.
It's crazy.
Monday to Monday, there's no
8 days a week.
Yes, it's 7. There's no stop. And I think if you have that mentality that at the start you're not into it, make it everything. When you wake up, you talk property or think property. So when you sleep, it's going to be a part of you very, very quickly.
I agree.
And believe it, after 2.5, 3 years, it was that much brainwashing that even my wife ended up joining the industry.
Oh, she now works beside you.
She now does finance.
She's the finance arm of the business, which is crazy.
You can imagine what our morning talks and evening talks are.
Property, money, property, loans, property.
Oh man, it's interesting conversation. Like for us, we're never tired of it. The kids hear it; it puts them to sleep sometimes.
But that's good. Some might argue that's good.
But they pick up on that sort of stuff. So, and it's something that we enjoy. Not everyone's going to be like this. You don't have to be like this. But if you want to do the same sort of result, that's what you got to do.
I think what we notice as well with all the people around us, doesn't matter what industry you're in, you have to be obsessed. Like you're absolutely obsessed with whether it's the success aspect of it or it's the process aspect of it. It's
or the end
obsession.
result.
Yeah, correct.
Some people. And there's nothing wrong with it.
Some people just eat shit for 5 years just so that they can get that end result. So
they like money. And people, who doesn't, right? And I think if you don't have a good relationship with money. You've never had enough to appreciate what it can get for you.
I agree.
We probably yourself as well. We got raised with money is evil. Like I don't think so. I think people can be happy with what they've got, with what they've achieved. But they can be happier with more money. Right?
Yeah, I think there's a saying that I've always lived by is money's not evil, right? Money is just an amplifier. So it's a multiple sign. It's actually not a plus sign. It's a multiple sign. So money just makes you more of who you are. So if you're an absolute fuckwit, with money, you'll become the biggest fuckwit, right? But if you're genuinely a good person, you're honest, you're generous, you're nice, you have empathy. If you have money, it's just a tool for you to be able to reach more, do more, see more. Like, I'd love to give more people opportunity. I'd love to help people become successful. I'd love to help people, achieve their dreams, try new things, and explore the world in a way that allows them to kind of, capture their passion and the energy. And so, like, money, I think, is just absolutely a tool, man. But everyone that has a poor relationship with money, I believe they usually sit there and they think it's evil, it's bad, or these people are so money hungry, they're just greedy, selfish people. Like, that's not really the case. I mean, it definitely is the case for some people. It can be.
But
It
yeah,
depends on the individual.
people see these guys driving down in supercars or like,
We've got Australia, bro. Like, everyone's like, oh, drug dealer this,
Yeah,
drug
100%.
dealer that, money laundering, scammer, whatever. Like, everyone here is just tall poppy syndrome.
Here's a great example. And if you're on Instagram, I think his at is Damn Batman. Right?
Oh, yeah, Dan Batman.
So this guy's name is Nico.
Nico.
Super humble dude.
Yep.
And he has one of the best collections of cars in like
Sydney.
supercars in Australia, right?
Yep.
And he's amongst like the top elite. This guy, actually, one of my first meetings with him was at a Breckivan event. So we were feeding homeless, right? At I think it was Darlinghurst or anyway, in the city, feeding homeless.
Yep.
And I was talking about his journey and what he did. I was donating. I was like, I felt good because at the time I had, enough, a good amount.
Yeah.
And I donated like a whole tray of bread and sandwiches.
Yeah.
This guy comes with a freaking truck, those 2 tons and it just comes up and this guy just there, you wouldn't know because he's dressed very humbly.
Yeah, he's a very chill guy.
Unless you
I haven't
understand
met him personally, like, very often, but from what I've seen and all the stories I've heard, he's a fantastic
super chill guy. So he's responsible, and him and his team, for some of the hotel developments. Like I believe it's Vibe Hotel in the city. He's got some new hotels and stuff coming up. But when I chatted with him, it was like we weren't even talking about money. We were talking about his journey and how how he can be so generous.
Yeah.
And he goes, well, exactly what you said. It's an amplifier. Money is an amplifier. And once upon a time, I could only give like $5 or $10. Now I can give a little bit more.
100%. And I think
5 or 10 trucks.
Yeah, exactly. 5 or 10 trucks. I think that's so important. And I think a lot of people just need to improve their relationship with money. Yeah. A lot of people think money is everything, right? And to some extent, for a lot of people, it is. But money is simply just a tool. If I picked up a drill, it allows me to drill holes. If
you know what it is? It's pride. Because like, especially, look, I'll talk from our culture.
Yeah.
People don't talk about that because they think you're showing off, right? Or they don't talk about it because of the comparison. They don't like that feeling.
Yeah.
But it's like this is another thing like I learned. Who was it? You can face any situation with like 2 pathways.
Yep.
Right? It can either be you take it on board, you learn from it, you grow, or you just hate and resent the thing and you go in the complete opposite direction.
Yep.
And too many people take the latter.
Agreed. Because it's the easier pathway. The path of least resistance is always to make excuses. To always be like, oh, it's not my fault. They had this, they had that. Yeah. Whereas the harder part is to sit down, humble yourself and go, oh, cool, they have that because they worked hard. Or, it's like, I might not have that because I'm not willing to take responsibility for my actions. I make mistakes. I don't take responsibility. People have choices in life, and there's always a choice to go down the easier pathway or to take the harder pathway. What sort of results you reap depend on which pathway you take. And I think that's so important.
Growing up, we don't realize that, right?
Yeah.
Your parents are always like, one day you'll know.
And I think the one days are coming up for a lot of us.
So. Yeah. There's a lot of, fruit picking that we can do from the shit that we've sowed.
100%.
But us in our generation, I think we can change that narrative, right? Or we can change the way that we say that to encourage people to change or to do better for themselves.
Yeah.
I just think it's not so much the stick method that works these days.
Yeah.
Especially there's a very fragile...
our society is very, very fragile right now.
Children out there.
Imagine back in the days when the teachers used to smack your hands with like rulers and stuff like that. I remember my mum telling me stories of her upbringing at school. Imagine seeing that nowadays. It would end up on the news straight away. So, it's tough. I mean, people complain all the time. I think people have forgotten the word gratitude a lot in this society. And I think a lot of people have really, especially because we live in such a beautiful country, first world country, everyone just feels entitled to not just their own opinions now, but they feel entitled to finances, they feel entitled to opportunities, they feel entitled to everything, and they believe it's such an abundance. And I believe that, you know, obviously in our country, there's a lot of things in abundance, but to really find the diamond in the rough and to really find those opportunities and places and environments and people that really will be with you for life and to really help encourage you to be the best version of yourself is still extremely rare. Yeah. And a lot of people need to choose first for themselves before they can even attract these people into their lives. Like, who do you want to be? Who are you going to be? Even if you were a millionaire, who would you be at that stage? Not just who you are right now. I could be the most broke person, no money, no nothing, no experience, no network, but I would still need to choose first to be a good individual before even anything comes into my life. And I think a lot of people forget that point. Yeah, so yeah, I think that's really interesting. I think we've gone super off. I don't even know where we're up to, but that's okay. But that's
this is our conversation. But
that's just life, you know, like being where you are now, what sort of what do you think was the turning point in your life where you kind of went from the stable engineering pathway, right, to going into something that's a little bit more risky? Because you started comms only, right? Comms only, for a lot of people, scares the fucking shit out of them because they actually have to work and they actually have to perform.
And the hardest thing is, right, real estate is like no other work unless you own your own business.
Yeah.
The truth is, if you don't put the work in, you're not getting paid.
100%.
Right? And I enjoyed a lot of sleep-ins. I enjoyed a lot of 2-hour days.
Yeah.
And just brunching and shit like that. But you've really got to find your rhythm.
Yeah.
You've got to find some sort of mentor as well to guide you, and some routine. They say routine is like the death of the salesman, right? But when you're starting, you've got to have something to go off. And I think a lot of people find it hard to transition from a 9 to 5 to what we do.
100%.
And a big part of, I guess, how I like to read and listen to podcasts and attend those, motivational seminars.
Yeah.
There was one by Simon Sinek, and it's talking about your why.
Yeah.
It was taken to the next level again when I met Co and Ray, and he goes, if your why is not strong enough to make you as a man cry, and nothing against women crying, they'll cry all the time, but like as a dude, we generally don't tend to cry.
That's true. Well, right? most dudes don't talk about their feelings or emotions, so I think that's another big issue that obviously it's another deep dive topic for another day, but
you might get cancelled if we talk about this. So
men crying
before we even start. Anyway,
hey, look, this is a raw, honest, genuine podcast. We don't care about being cancelled. We care about real stories here.
Yeah, look, it's one of those things that if you have a strong enough purpose, you'll do what you can. And jumping in comms only, it's like either I can die, then my potential family will die, or I can rise to meet the challenge. When your back's against the wall, there's nowhere else you can go, right? It's either you stand up or you just you become part of the wall.
And you're like a turtle. You're like, fuck, I can't get up. That's a good insight, because like, let's think about the young people for a second. I think a lot of young people, especially this generation, Gen Zs, not resilient at all. Fucking give up after 4 seconds. It's a huge struggle for them to really hold on to something. Most of them have an average lifespan in a job for like 3 to 6 months. They ask for a lot, do very little, have to have sick days, mental health days, fucking all sorts of days, every day. You might as well just not rock up to work day and still get paid. But that's the kind of direction that I see a lot of society, not just in Australia, but all around the world, we're moving towards. People want 4-day work weeks. You know, they want to work from home 4 days a week and go to the office maybe 1 day a week if they're lucky. That's the sort of environment that we're in now. Have you seen that in the real estate world too? Yeah,
look, with Corp, and how it's been, I guess, structured, right? If you can achieve a week's worth of work or result in 1 day, fantastic, have 7 days off.
Yeah.
But if you're just starting off, you should be spending a good 7 days a week honing in on your craft or learning it, because timing is everything within this industry, within most industries, right?
Yeah.
The time that you're spending learning, someone else is out there selling.
100%.
Someone else is out there taking other opportunities
100%.
You're missing out on.
100%.
So while we're making calls at stupid hours of the day, right, while people are having dinner or whatever, other people are having dinner, so they're not doing what you're doing. But you only need one person to answer and go ahead.
That's right.
For you to be ahead of your competitor. Yeah, look, I don't know where we're going with that. But something else popped in my head.
I think that's what happens. It's the ADHD. It's coming back. The ADHD is.
I better not say that. I was about.
But yeah, it happens. It happens. Like we see a lot of these Gen Zs and a lot of these young individuals, and they have a lot of energy.
So
Yeah.
they've got a lot of energy at the start. So they're like poor sex people, right?
Yeah.
It's about endurance.
Yeah.
Not necessarily about like.
How fast you can pump.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
But it kind of is too.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're going to stream this, but this is pretty stupid stuff. But it's like someone said, oh, it's about endurance. But then I also thought there are some people gifted in this life where it's not necessarily, it's about endurance. Just do what you need to do. Get the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
Like, bang, 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 do your thing.
Yeah.
Do it. And then recover quickly, go again.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that rest on their laurels once they've achieved something.
Yep. Agreed.
Our big boss, big mentor of mine,
Yeah.
like inspiration in my life, right? One of the things he really humbled me. I had a fat year, like one of my early years. I wanted to get a car, right? I told you this story.
Yeah.
I wanted to get a beautiful Maserati Levante. I could pay it all cash.
Yeah.
And with a little bit extra for a dinner.
Yeah.
Right?
Levante plus KFC.
He super humbled me because he goes, yeah, this is cool. But how do you know this was a one-off, right? If you can show that you can continuously do this, then I approve of your decision.
Yeah.
But otherwise, you're just one of these tryhards putting all your money into one thing to show off, and it doesn't really achieve anything.
Correct.
Car's a car, but like we were driving around in his very nice Ferrari at that time.
Yep.
And he goes, the only reason I got this is because my passive income can support it. And I was like, fuck.
Yeah.
He goes, how impressed, like who are you trying to impress? Or what's more impressive, sorry? You're showing them this nice car.
Or your
Beautiful girl.
savings.
It's like sitting next to you. You put your savings into it.
Yeah.
Or when you drive this beautiful girl in your average looking car, your Toyota Camry, then you say which apartment you want to stay in tonight, and you own half a building. That's a different sort of flex.
Different sort of flex. I think a lot of people get caught up, especially my generation. Some of the older generations, some of the Viets, they love this, like the flex culture. It's diamonds iced out everywhere,
look,
gold this, gold that.
Yeah.
They love it, and I think there's different variations of people, right? They have the new money and old money is what the kids call it nowadays. I think the old money flex kind of like your mentor says like they're not really flashy. They might drive a Corolla, but they own 2 apartment blocks. Not apartment, but apartment block.
Yeah.
Whereas you have someone out there who might be driving in, you said, a Maserati, but that was all their savings and they got nothing else behind them. And we see this, right, in people with watches and clothes.
They're
and
in
stuff
different
like
circles, and it's like these are circles of like
Crazy.
The Prancing Pony Club.
Yeah,
these
yeah.
guys like they fart outcomes like a Ferrari. But like to them, really, if you're here to impress and to really like be in a different crowd,
that.
they don't talk cars.
Yeah.
It's next level. It's yachts. It's boats.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
developments.
Yeah, that's right.
And
what
you don't
projects
really
do you have going? $200 million block over here. Oh, yeah, my yacht, that's $40 million just arrived,
So it's one of those things. I definitely got immersed into a different world.
There's levels in life, but you realize there's levels. Like, we think we're doing well. There's always someone next to you that's doing fucking 10 times better than you with 10 times less effort.
And those are the people we should be hanging with.
100%, I
If
agree.
you're already at the top of your circle, your circle's too small.
Yeah.
And this is not for everyone. Some people are comfortable with that.
Yeah.
But Ling and I, we've lost a lot of friends, close friends that used to be best friends. We used to hang out every week.
I'm the same.
But now it's like they comment, oh, you guys always fine dining, always like flying in and out. Like, it's part of it. And it's not that we're sick of it. I love it. Clearly, you can see I love eating food, right?
We need to get some before and after photos of you.
We have. I've got some, but hopefully this year is
It's a different
year
story,
of transformation.
Yeah.
I got to, man. I when I went back to China,
Yeah.
I broke 100. I was like 102.
Oh.
After 2 weeks, I was back to 99. I
Yeah,
was like,
yeah.
I gotta get that. Really.
Yeah, I was getting close last year as well. I was like, holy shit, I hit like 94 and I was like, okay.
You've trimmed down heaps.
Have I? I think it's just me wearing black, that's to be honest. It's the
setting
black,
all
it's
of
the
this
black
up.
walls, it's the black clothes. That's how you trim down, guys. Secret hack, all right? And put cameras that have more wider lenses so you'll look a lot skinnier.
And then on the side, like while everyone's sleeping, you build a podcast
That's
studio.
right, that's right. You build a black room, as we call it. So
And everyone in your team, even Melvin, man, I followed his story as well.
Yeah.
This guy was,
training.
typical Filipino.
typical Filipino,
Super
okay.
chubby before, super adorable, but now he's like super eligible, You wouldn't be ashamed to swipe right.
Yeah.
Is it right or left?
Well,
Which is good.
I don't know. Tell us, Tinder people. No, that's fascinating because I think it's like speaking of that, there is definitely levels, and the value of having a mentor in your life is super important. And I know the caliber of people that you have around you, and I had a very similar experience as well with my cousin. My cousin was a very successful entrepreneur.
The one in America, right?
Correct, yeah. And he had a huge exit, $250 million exit.
That's mad.
Massive. And same thing, he said something similar to me. He's like, he has 7 shirts, 7 pairs of shorts, 7, not even 2 pairs of shoes, and 7 pairs of socks. And I know because I did his laundry when I was there helping him. And that's all he has.
Yeah.
And I like, and I stay over at his place, his auntie's place, and I'm just looking at him. It's just the most casual thing, but this guy's got like
He's got
tens
the
of
bank,
millions in his bank account. And it's just crazy because we're having dinner and we had this conversation. And he's like, "Oh, Alan, how much are you going to make this year?" And I was like, "Oh, if I have a good year, I'll do 200K." I was like 23, 24 at the time. So I was like, "I'll make 200K this year," which is like pretty fucking good for a 23-year-old.
Yeah.
And then he looks at me and goes, "Yeah, well, I make that in bank interest every week." And I was like, "What? Bank interest every week?" Fucking that was that moment in my life. It's like just like how Justin said to you, like this is his, like he has passive income that pays off his Ferrari.
Yeah.
Same situation. Bank interest is literally passive income, right? So I sit there and I'm just like, bro.
You know what was a crazy turning point? It was a point that you and I, we karaoke.
Yeah.
Before we were working, we've been karaoke.
Yeah.
My first exposure to it was like a karaoke team thing.
Yeah.
They spent almost like 20K.
In a karaoke
How the
room.
fuck do you spend 20K
Yeah,
on?
yeah.
I'll show you. Like with this.
Yeah.
And this happens on a week-on-week basis.
Every week.
And it wasn't a thing to flex. Of course, they have to for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Kind of flex. But they don't do it willy-nilly, right?
Yeah.
But it's because they can.
Yeah.
But it just blew my mind.
Yeah.
People are capable of like living this
Being
life.
able to spend that much money, right?
And people continue like that was
It's
like some
insane.
people go even bigger than that, right?
Yeah. It's insane.
When I was able to not so much spend that much, but man, my parents have always been working hard and they were not able to give certain experiences that they wanted, right?
Yeah.
Because they work hard.
Yeah.
Right? Nothing wrong with working hard, but there's able to achieve certain luxuries
Yeah.
that other people were having.
Yeah.
When we were able to give that to them, I remember it was my mum's 10th birthday.
Yeah.
And I thought, I'm going to go all out on this. We
Yeah.
invited her friends and whatever. We had
Yeah,
4 or
yeah.
5. I, without thinking, didn't even look at menu.
Yeah.
I just said,
Banquet for everyone.
I want the 2 biggest, just give me the 2 biggest lobsters you got.
Yeah.
Didn't even think. Fuck, they brought out like 5-kilo monsters.
Oh, wow.
My parents and her friends have never seen
Like a
even
lobster
one of
like
them.
that big.
They see them in the tank, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
It's always that novelty that you see it there,
Yeah.
but no one ever orders it. And then for me to provide that to them, man, my parents were like, "Wow, this is so cool." But I think they were even more wow when their friends were like, "Oh, your son is giving you like this experience," and we took it. Like we didn't let my other brother and sister like pay for it. We don't want to burden them like that.
Yeah.
Genuinely, that was from us to
And a
give.
big lobster at $250 a kilo is fucking expensive for a lobster. It's like $1,000
Yeah,
lobster.
these were $1,000
Yeah,
lobsters.
these are $1,000
you know?
lobsters, and it happens in Chinese restaurants. If you've never had a $1,000 lobster, it's an experience.
Yeah. Now, not to be a punce or whatever.
Yeah.
But like, I'm so over lobster. Hey, like, lobster, crab, like.
But it's just, that's the Asian thing. It's lobsters and crabs. Asian lobsters and
Abalone.
crabs. The peasant food of back in the days, you know, like peasant food.
But these days, like I look for other stuff. I
Yeah.
like things that are
Other
not
stuff.
on menu.
Yeah.
And,
Street food.
it's like you go to a restaurant, right? You've
Yeah.
been with us before. And we're like,
Yeah.
we just tell the waiter, just give us something, whatever.
Well, like the
chef.
testicles we ate.
Oh, man, I gotta take you to some place. Like we take people to different places that you eat things that are not on menu.
Yeah, and that's probably the best because, you know, that's the special stuff that not everyone gets.
This is a different luxury, right?
Yeah.
And we just had so many of these experiences early on in real estate.
Yeah.
Imagine one of these hot pots that we went to was at a developer's or BDM's place in the city.
Yeah.
He goes, we're having hot pot, but you guys got to go get the ingredients. I was like,
Yeah.
what the fuck? He goes, here's my card. Don't even look. You've got 1 hour. Come back.
Yeah.
Man, we filled trolleys. It was thousands of dollars for hot pot, and there's only like 6 of us.
That's crazy.
It was not, and I remember our marketing guy was part of that.
Yeah.
Both of us, we were still, well, he was younger, but like that's the first time I was like, this is a cool feeling to have that you don't
Different
have
experience.
to look at the price tag, and then think about, oh, do I have enough in my account? To afford that?
Yeah.
And being to do that now, not that we go crazy, it's cool. That's a little luxury in itself.
Yeah.
But we wouldn't have been able to do that if we didn't work hard to begin with.
I agree.
And make the wise choices that we did at the start.
I agree. I think like a lot of people don't realize not just how much money is out there, but what caliber of individuals are out there. Because most people won't meet millionaires in their life, let alone multi-millionaires or even billionaires, right?
Sometimes they
So
do,
different.
and
And they don't even realize it.
They don't
either.
realize it, or they'll take the other route. They'll resent the feeling, and they'll just be jealous of
Oh,
it.
he's such a rich asshole. Look at him wearing fucking this $100,000 watch. Such a dickhead. But
used
to
to be
them, it's like toilet paper.
When I started, there was always we have a culture where we announce our wins, right?
Yeah.
And I think this is a really good thing. Once upon a time, some agencies would never do this because it breeds toxicity and unhealthy rivalry and that sort of thing, competition. To me, this is all good stuff.
Yeah.
Competition is good. It keeps you on your toes.
Yeah.
Right? It gives you something to aspire for. There was one guy who was like my mentor, like an idol.
Yeah.
When I first started, I learned a lot. His name is Ray.
Yeah.
He was like one of the seniors at the time. He was my senior.
Yeah.
And he was pumping. And I was like, man, people were not liking him because they weren't making the sales he was.
Of course.
But I was like, man,
That's so
I want to
inspiring.
learn from this dude. He took me 4 letter drops, and I figured out why people don't like, because he's also ruthless with his approach to everything. I was picking and choosing which shops to go to.
He just went fucking
He
everything.
just kicked me down these stairs once.
Yeah.
I was like, nah, don't go there. There's cobwebs. It's old. It doesn't look like they'll be good like anyone affording it. That was my first sale
No way.
in North Sydney.
Wow.
So the owner of an arts store, an
Wow.
art supply shop,
Wow.
which I didn't expect, right?
Yeah.
But if he hadn't kicked me down and taught me that lesson that everyone is a customer.
Never prejudge. It was one of the first lessons I learned in sales. Never prejudge. Everyone can be a customer. There's always another sale. These are just important key lessons. And I think it's so powerful. People judge all the time.
Super.
You know, that's why I dress like a bum and everyone looks at me and is like, fuck, he's a povo. Don't serve him. And I'm just sitting there going, oh, Steves. It just happens.
Yeah.
Such is life. I think, people don't understand that there are levels out there. And when you meet and hang out with these people, like you said, can spend 20 grand in 2 hours of karaoke. Like it's someone's life savings, that can go into it. Like I've met friends who are like 50 years old with almost no money in their savings, no assets, nothing. And then I've met people who are 50 years old worth hundreds of millions of dollars. To them, it's nothing. They'll go out for dinner and be like, oh yeah, whatever you want, you can have. And there's a $30,000 bill at the end of it with a fucking $10,000 tip. It's like, huh?
Yeah.
It's so different because, it's just levels, man.
But then it's like, where do you want to be?
Yeah, it's your choice. It's your
So I'm
choice
like,
at the end of the day.
maybe it's one of those things that there's a bit of greed inside me as well.
Yeah.
Greed can be good too because it pushes you, it drives you.
Yeah.
But at the moment, the big thing that pushes me, not necessarily my kids, but just like the environment
The
I want to
environment,
bring
correct.
into.
But like, think about it, right? I mean, you get the choice on what sort of lifestyle you want to create for yourself. We have one life. That's as simple as it is. We used to say YOLO, right? You only live once. The reality is we only have one life, and the reality is you choose how you play this game of life. You can either be the person that's successful or you get knocked down
You
after.
said a really
you know,
good thing,
know what I mean?
game, right?
Yeah.
That having that gamer's mentality.
Yeah,
I believe in games,
I agree.
and I let my kids play games.
Yes.
So that's a thing, right? If
Yeah.
we're raising kids, you probably play games when you were growing
I did.
up, right?
Yeah, I used to love
Me
playing
too.
games.
All the successful people I know
Game.
now from our generation, all gamers.
I mean, look at Elon Musk. What does he play? He like the top of some game. I can't remember what it was. My cousin plays the same game. That's why.
Did he make
tracks
it?
No, he didn't make it. But he's like ranked number 1 or whatever. And he has bots on it and he does all of his stuff. So if people game, and I think games actually have a very interesting lesson that's embedded in all of them, which is figure out how to overcome the obstacles to create success.
Yeah.
And I think that people need to realize that. And every level progressively gets harder.
So many things you can learn from
So
them.
many things.
You can go solo, but how to hustle as a solo dude.
Yeah.
You
The
can work
co-op.
as a team.
Yeah.
You know, where
Multiplayer.
you fit in.
Yeah.
Believe it. This is fun. We still kind of do. When new games come out in the office.
Did you guys just play Wukong?
Not me.
Or
I
that
didn't.
Wukong?
I didn't get into it.
Yeah.
Because I'm not rich enough to afford PlayStation. So if someone wants to give me a PS5, I would appreciate it. But
We'll put Mark's PayPal account here.
but yeah, I didn't get into it. One, because when we get into something,
GG.
we
You're in.
get into
Yeah.
it until we get by like 10-year-olds.
Yeah.
Okay, so we used to play League of Legends.
Yeah.
We're like, man, I didn't know this developer plays League as well. Okay, so, LOL, right?
Yeah.
So we're like, yeah, Don plays. We had another person play from the office, Tony, Jimmy. We had a few people.
Yeah.
And these new developer friends, we're like,
Yeah.
shit, they also play.
Yeah.
We met other people our age
Yeah.
on this platform.
On League, yeah.
On League, right?
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, you guys don't talk young. You're also I'm like, yeah, fuck you, bro. Turns out they're developers.
Oh my
So we
God.
met developers through that game.
There you
Diablo, same thing.
Yeah.
Through
Diablo, that's the game. That's the one.
Diablo 2 when the remastering
Yeah.
came out.
Yeah.
So these games, it was cool. And then we invited them over and we're like, let's play a session. We were teamed, and then we just verse randoms.
Yeah.
Well, we can't do that anymore. The randoms now are 10-year-olds,
They
12-year-olds.
smash
They
you.
just destroy us.
They
Oh,
absolutely
man.
wipe the floor with you. They're crazy.
It's super insulting. You hear their squeaky little,
Yeah, they're raging at you.
non-broken voices. I tried to play I think Fortnite.
Yeah, Fortnite.
And something else. This is
It's too hard. Valorant. That's the one.
Valorant.
That's what
Man,
everyone's playing.
Apparently, I'm too toxic on that game.
You get banned straight away.
Yeah. So I've played 6 times,
Yeah.
and who was teaching me? One of the new girls. She was
Yeah.
like, I've never seen someone banned so quickly. Like,
Oh, that's why we just play Call of Duty and just be toxic on Call of Duty.
that's all right, because you're playing with all
Other
old
dudes.
Americans
Yeah,
as well.
all
so.
Americans as well. So everyone's just super toxic. Okay, well, let's wrap up anyway. Now that we're getting into gaming,
we
now.
start hating on the young kids.
But yeah, literally start hating on these little 10-year-olds that smash us in games. But it's true though. Gaming, I think, is so important for like team building, strategy, tactics, even. And even just reflexes, right? Like, gaming is pretty important for that. I think there's nothing wrong with games. It's just moderation, as always. You don't want to become that guy that's in the basement for 16 hours a day, and then that's your life. Unless you can monetize that, which a lot of people have done, right? All these streamers have this absolutely huge career. They make a shitload more money than we do. So unless you can do that, good for you. Fucking props to you. Well done, mate. We love that. And if you want to come into the exactly. They work so hard. 16 hours a day is not easy.
I know people that are like Australian representative.
Oh, really?
We'll see if we can get them.
Yeah,
to
let's get
come
them on the
here.
podcast. Why not? It'll be fun. But looking back now, what would you say in terms of your early grind, right? Like this is when you're getting started in your career, whether it's, you're in the Air Force, and yeah, Mark used to be in the Air Force, so all the cool planes. So whether it's Air Force, whether it's the beginning days of Cube Corp, what sort of advice do you think you could give to someone who's just getting started, whether it's real estate, sales, engineering, whatever it is, just to become an expert in their career or just to become like a god in their career? What sort of advice do you think at the very beginning stages, like the first 3 months of trying something new?
First of all, just do it, right?
Yeah.
There's always going to be some hang up about how, right?
Yeah.
But just do it.
Yeah.
You'll figure out the other shit later on if your reason or desire to do that thing is strong enough, right?
Yeah.
And then if you really want to achieve, get a mentor.
Yeah.
And just learn from every mistake that you can. Don't make the same mistake more than once.
Yeah.
But definitely get a mentor that's someone that is doing what you're doing, right? And just try as much as you can. You never know what works till you try, right?
100%.
People that come up with formulas that work super successful for themselves, it's not that they planned that formula beforehand.
Yeah.
This is the result of what they've done in the past.
The trial and error countless amounts
Exactly.
of times. And that's in everything in life.
And if it doesn't work, try something else,
Yeah.
But at the same time, give yourself, I guess, a realistic time frame to try something.
Yeah.
Time frame, setting reachable goals, obtainable goals.
Yeah.
And then just get obsessed with it, like you said before. I think that's true. I didn't know real estate. I learned to love it. you know. And now, I can't think of doing anything else.
Yeah. I think and you've done super well. And the next step is obviously growing bigger and better, doing developments, property, even more beyond selling properties is building your own properties and getting into big projects and,
Who knows what's next?
Who knows?
I've been thinking about like jets.
Oh,
Jets and
Private jets?
and boats.
I think I've been seeing that, private jets and boats. I just bought a boat recently, so I've been going fishing. But private jets is, I think, slowly starting to come into Australia a little bit more. I've been seeing a little bit more about private jets recently. So it could be interesting. Well, last thing, final takeaway before we wrap everything up. Like we said, life is a game. As to every game, there's a hack, there's a cheat code, there's something. What would you say is your biggest cheat code that you've learned in your now 37 years of existence? What is the biggest cheat code that you've kind of discovered for yourself that if you were to apply to yourself back when you were 18 years old would help you double your results but half the time?
Do what successful people have done. So follow where money goes. If government is investing in a particular location, they've done probably more due diligence than your standard everyday R&D dude, right?
Yeah.
So jump into that sort of thing. Even early on, there were dudes putting a bunch of asset into crypto.
Yeah.
If I had put more into that'd be laughing. A mate of mine, Stefan Levere, killing it right now because he was one of those dudes, super invested. Now he's in LA. It's like one of the top podcast dudes for crypto. Yeah. See where the big dudes are putting their balls in and then chuck your balls in the same court.
Yeah. What about like people, and with that being said, a lot of people are going to be super fearful, right? Because it's not something that they have knowledge in. It's a gray area or a black area for them. They have complete zero awareness about it. So even though they see all these big dudes go, yeah, I'm buying developments here, I'm buying property here. These are the areas that I'm playing with. And a lot of people don't even have this sort of network. And people are buying this crypto and that crypto. And there's so many scams out there. What would you say is a good way for you to identify what sort of big dudes are important and where do you even find these big dudes?
Mainstream media is really easy to pick it up. Generally, you go to a place, you see who's got the biggest sign, right? You go to Mascot, what's the number one developer in Mascot? Meriton.
Yeah.
You go Pagewood, what's the number one? Meriton.
Yeah.
You go Alexandria, Meriton, right? So who do you follow? Meriton.
Yeah.
People talk shit about getting into their properties now, but every single person that bought into their properties 5 years ago, right?
Cashed.
They're laughing. No one is complaining about how those properties have grown.
Yeah, right.
It's hard to get into those particular areas.
Yeah, right.
So if you're unsure, we've got this great thing called Google reviews. People are very honest on those, and I wish sometimes they wouldn't be.
Yeah.
But for the most part, if it's mostly positive, then that's a company or that's a group that you want to be working with because they've got real people talking about real results.
Yeah.
And I think these days people aren't that stupid. They know, right? What's a bot generated review?
That's true. It's AI generated review. It's pretty easy to spot. Yeah.
So I think have a look at those and you can go down that path. I think customer testimonial is big.
Huge. Yeah, no, I agree. Okay, cool. So yeah, based on just looking at the real estate niche, what are you taking a look at yourself personally this year? Like what sort of areas, what sort of styles of property? Interest rates just dropped, which is like a very timely like part of our conversation. So it's getting pretty hot. So what's it going to be look like? What's your tips?
It has started to heat up, but I'll give you an example of like what has happened right now. So over the weekend, there was an auction that attracted quite a chunk of people. About 60, 70 people attended this auction for a house in the Inner West. Now, this Inner West house had that many people attending, but only 2 bidders.
Oh, interesting.
Okay, so that was the first weekend after the cut.
Yeah.
Now seeing what the markets do, we can't think of this as they're going to keep doing it. It'd be fantastic if the rate cuts keep dropping, but I think we're being hopeful. It could happen a few more times. I think last year I said, based on the information that I knew and the people I've been talking to, it was going to happen in February. Yeah. Recently, I thought that would be better for maybe March or April or closer to the middle of the year. But that's my personal reasons, right? To push certain projects, But it's one of those things that I think take advantage of situations now, because if it does get lower, and when it does get lower, people that are waiting for that to happen will not make a move until those points, right? And that's a lot of people. Yeah. That's going to have a lot of competition. Yeah. What's competition breed? More power to the vendor. Yeah. Right. Developers already anticipating this, and there's not been price reductions. Quite the opposite. Yeah. So later in this year, there's going to be quite a number of increases. Yeah. For a number of reasons: labor cost, material cost, whatever. Right. Yeah. But it's this competition.
Yeah, of course, supply and demand, right? Yeah. And as the demand increases and the supply decreases, guess what? You're paying more for property. So
people have been putting their hands in their pockets for too long, waiting for something to happen. Yeah. There's a lot of opportunity right now. Yeah. Some great, in my early 2025 vision. Yeah. There's some great opportunity still to be had in Perth. Yeah. In Brisbane also. Yeah. And believe it or not, an opportunity that once upon a time I didn't truly believe in Melbourne, but in Melbourne also.
Interesting. So I never really looked into Melbourne either. I was always told it's fucking shit. So.
Oh man, like house and land, you can't go wrong. Yeah. Especially in Melbourne, Brisbane, right? Yeah. Because it's affordable, it's always going to be there. It's got good cash flow because of the rental, but growth's a bit slower, right? There's pockets in Brisbane that are going to boom a little bit faster, but there is a market in Perth, particularly to the north of Perth, that has already started to reap benefits of super growth because more infrastructure and stuff's happening there.
Yeah. Interesting. Whoa, that's hot tips from Mark for 2025. Or for the beginning of 2025. Hopefully we'll get him on for another episode for more updates later on. But where can people find you, Mark? If they wanted to reach out to you for property or for some help in terms of their own investment journeys as well for property and real estate, where can they find you on social media?
Instagram, Facebook, those are the main. I try not to look at TikTok because there's a bit of haters on TikTok. But yeah, Instagram, Mark D. Coronel.
Yeah, we'll put it down in the comments anyway.
And the Corp site. So we've got plenty of guys. If you don't like my face, there's plenty of
other prettier guys out there. Huh? We'll also put the Corp links up there for you guys as well if you are really interested in that property game. But yeah, we'll drop all of that there. Thank you so much for being on the show today, Mark. And it's been a good start to the year. Thank you very much.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you. That's episode 1 done and dusted. I hope you have enjoyed that episode of Point 01. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow along on all our socials at Point 01 Podcast to watch all of the shorts again. We release an episode every single week, and we hope you will join us as we continue to explore the minds of those who make up the 0.01%. Until next time, keep hustling. I'm your host, Alan Fu. I'll see you on the next episode.